Here are the most disastrous marketing campaigns brands pulled off this year, from the completely out of touch,
So we're advertising about cereal for dinner. If you think about the cost of cereal,
all the way to mistakes that sparked unrecoverable downfalls.
When I think back, this was a terrible decision. I was insensitive.
And just when we thought our top 10 was secured, here comes Jaguar with a very late swing to not only ruin my script, but also completely ruin their image with one of the most questionable ads of the year. In an attempt to showcase their new electric car, decided to delete common sense and not include a single car, but instead showcase exaggerated, bizarre imagery, alienating its core demographic and leaving the internet to criticize the brand's identity and message of copy nothing, when they should have been copying their marketing textbooks, especially with very diplomatic comments such as, "You're selling cars to rich people, not the Teletubbies," and "Weird way to announce bankruptcy." Although very funny, Jaguar did go on to make $37 billion in 2024, probably because most critiques came from people who weren't users of the brand, which can't be said for this next ad, when Apple decided it would be a fun little idea to crush all creative tools artists use and respect with a hydraulic press in an attempt to market its new iPad Pro. But the only thing they were crushing were their shareholders' value, as this very expectedly sparked massive waves of criticism, accusing Apple of undermining artists and their tools. So much so that the Financial Times even wrote an article titled, "We are all being crushed by Apple's techtopians," which was made worse by the fact that this opened the door for all its competitors to capitalize on this blunder. With Samsung coming out with their own ad, creativity cannot be crushed. However, trying to capitalize on negative image of other brands doesn't always go to plan, especially if you're Kellogg's CEO Gary Piltnick, who in early 2024 tried to portray Kellogg's as a savior brand for inflated prices and insinuated poorer families eat his cereals for, well, dinner.
so we're advertising about cereal for dinner. If you think about the cost of cereal,
Right. I'm all for innovation and marketing, but the idea of having cereal for dinner, is there the potential for that to land the wrong way?
we don't think so. In fact, it's landing really well right now, Carl.
Spoilers, it wasn't, and Kellogg's, who has been struggling with sales and health concerns in the past few years, were met with an additional challenge of being labeled as out of touch with consumer struggles, especially in today's Financial Times. Just as much as this next failure, which once again comes from Apple, who thought marketing their Vision Pro headset at $3,500 just to see it crack after a few days would result into a high demand product. The final nail in the coffin, though, came from when consumers realized there were only 12 compatible apps available, such as Microsoft Excel, but no calculator, probably to keep people from figuring out they just paid an average of $300 for each app that you could just probably use on your phone. So after thousands of unsold stock and even more videos of YouTubers making fun of the product, Apple decided to call it a day and slow down the production of its Vision Pro headset to try again for another time. Unfortunately for Google, though, they wouldn't get a better opportunity to launch their Gemini ad campaign by trying to capitalize on the Summer Olympics to win over its countless viewers. But on July 26, the only thing Google won was a gold medal for the worst ad of the Olympics, when they depicted a father using Gemini to help his daughter write a letter to her favorite athlete. This led to viewers accusing Google of stripping away the human experience for the benefit of artificial intelligence and technology. So, in a bid to show the public how truly connected they want people to feel to one another, they responded by disabling their comment section and then pulling the ad, forcing Google to spectate the rest of the Olympics while all other brands benefited on the event's drawn attention. Obviously a blow to their reputation, but not a company-ending campaign, which can't be said for our next story, and one I'm sure we all heard about when the House of Illuminati tried to bring the magic of Willy Wonka to families and kids. But after months of planning and hundreds of thousands of dollars spent, the only magic that came out of the event were the memes from the internet, completely ripping the event to shreds, with what was expected to be an interactive family experience resulted in bringing your kids to an abandoned warehouse with a few posters and toys lying around, while underpaid teenagers handed out limited stocks of candy. And as funny as the internet's reaction was, the reality of the situation truly settled when massive news organizations reported on and investigated the event.
Next, the fallout from a family day out that promised much and delivered very little,
which led to reports of unpaid wages, legal safety concerns, and with the CEO in the middle of the spotlight, a few claims of harassment to top it all off.
I'm going to call the police.
This, as you can imagine, led to the full downfall of the company, who shut down later in the year. However, it did for a brief moment bring the internet and people together, which can't be said for Bumble, who have been struggling to attract numbers to their dating app for some time now, and with younger demographics choosing to turn their backs on dating sites as a whole while also being portrayed as unimaginative, Bumble knew their public relations had to strengthen, and in May they did just that. By strengthening people's anger from launching a campaign with its celibacy is not the answer slogan ad. And as I'm sure you can very easily predict, unlike anyone in Bumble's boardroom, at the time this caused a massive wave of backlash, accusing Bumble of attacking people's dating preferences, this resulting in a further drop in their parent company's share value, which seems increasingly unlikely to recover as more people keep walking away from the app. But unlike Bumble, who have been losing users at a gradual pace for the past few years, we now have a product that saw their whole user base disappear in the blink of an eye. And that comes from the failed product of Concord, a Sony game developed by Firewalk Studios. This catastrophic failure not only cost Sony 8 years and $400 million to put together, but before Concord was even released, they were so confident that their game would stand the test of time that they even got Amazon to use their game as one of their stories for their upcoming show Secret Level. Unfortunately, the only confidence that came with the game's release was how confident its players were that they had just wasted $60 on a game that lacked real innovation in a very competitive hero shooter market, especially when all its established competitors had adopted a free-to-play model. This all mixed in with unappealing characters that saw a walking trash can as the most likable design, ultimately foreshadowing where those players would be throwing their copies of the game. And after only a few months and a peak of less than 700 players on Steam, Sony decided to pull the plug on their game, leading to the full closure of Firewalk. Fortunately, they did offer full refunds to all who bought their products, which can't be said for our next brand, Fisker Ocean, but who did very kindly offer us a lesson in marketing on how to not handle criticism when massive tech YouTuber MKBHD showcased their car, calling it the worst car he's ever reviewed, starting his video with massive red flags from the car's brand.
Got it from a Mitsubishi dealership because Fisker couldn't get one to us, and then they somehow found out that we got one, and they didn't want us to review this one.
And the video just got worse, with Marcus highlighting major flaws with the car, from software issues to driving experiences.
This has failed on me many times. Even little things like Bluetooth I've had an issue with in this car.
But the real damage occurred from how Fisker tried to handle the situation by, well, calling the dealership Marcus got the car from and asking the dealer to give them Marcus's personal information so that they could track him down.
If you could just share this guy's information, I'll be grateful. MKHBD, whatever he is.
Which the dealer refused and also posted the interaction online, further compromising their brand's image. This was the final nail in a series of constant errors which eventually saw the brand's value drop 99.99% and declare bankruptcy. But unlike Fisker Ocean, who faced continuous backlash, a winning most disastrous move came from Kite Baby, who were a relatively healthy brand in the eye of the public with a very strong following that CNN even described as cultish, all until one public move completely derailed the company's trajectory. Kite Baby, who sells, well, baby products and that took pride in their identity of supporting parents, found their loyal followers accusing them of being hypocrites and two-faced for not allowing one of their workers to work from home after her adopted kid had been born prematurely. So in a desperate bid to control the wave of backlash, Kite Baby decided to offer an apology. Good start until people realized she was just reading a script which felt like it had been written by AI.
K-Baby prides itself in being a family-oriented company. We treat biological and non-biological parents equally.
This causing her to have to upload a second apology.
And the comments were right. It was scripted. Sincerely, what went wrong was how we treated Marissa.
A lot better, but unfortunately by that point the business had lost the trust of its once loyal customers, and while they do continue to operate, they did completely kill off any strong momentum it seemed the brand once had, while also compromising their whole brand's identity, which many people speculate to be irreversible damage, which some are seeing as the beginning of the end for a once loved brand. And that's it. I'm sure from these learned lessons we won't get any marketing fails in 2025. Or maybe I'll see you guys here next year.